Boston Celtics just had a great performance in the 2024 finals, and their championship really speaks a lot. Smartly assembled by front office boss Brad Stevens, the Celtics had star power and also depth, which made them tough at both ends and able to win even with relatively mild production from Tatum and Brown. Here are the final biggest takeaways of how the Celtics pursued and secured number 18. 1. Boston Celtics break tie with Los Angeles Lakers. When the 2023-24 NBA season began, the Los Angeles Lakers and Boston Celtics were tied atop the NBA's all-time championship leaderboard at 17 titles apiece. If we're being absolutely technical, the Lakers actually won an 18th title before the Celtics did. The problem? It was for the new in-season tournament championship, not a traditional end-of-season title. Well, if there was any doubt about who sits atop the all-time championship's throne, it has been erased. The Celtics clinched the 2024 NBA championship on Monday night with a Game 5 win over the Mavericks to win the NBA Finals. It was the Celtics' first title since the 2007-08 season, as they won the championship exactly 16 years after their last one, which came on June 17, 2008. The Boston Celtics are now on top of the NBA world, and they once again reign supreme over the basketball hierarchy. Monday's win over the Dallas Mavericks gave the Celtics an 18th NBA championship in franchise history, putting them in unprecedented territory when it comes to league history. Even though it's Boston's first NBA championship since 2008, it has spent the majority of its existence as one of the league's premier franchises with its storied history. What's more impressive is Boston has more titles than 22 teams combined. The LA Lakers are now in second place with 17 titles. The Lakers and Celtics alone have combined to win 35 of the total 78 championships awarded in league history, or a bit less than 45%. They have a 10-title lead on every other team in the NBA, with the Warriors in third place with 7. In other words, it's unlikely that any team is going to catch the Celtics anytime soon unless the Lakers can do so. Everybody else, for the time being, is fighting for third place. 2. Dominance always on display. The Celtics won 64 times in the regular season, leading the league, and then went next level when it mattered most. That's because the postseason was a complete and total flex, with only 3 defeats spread over 4 rounds. It was a tip-to-buzzer display that will be recognized by history and reflect well when measuring these Celtics with the best teams of this era. Given how they went scorched earth from October through June, perhaps the Celtics' biggest threat all along was themselves. The anticipation this season was steep for a team with a pair of certified stars and layers of solid and dependable players. And the Celtics never wavered from the weight of expectations. They met it, actually. They won with and without Kristaps Porzingis, their oft-injured 7'3" center, who staggered through the season and then missed roughly a month of the postseason. They executed a first-round dismissal of the Heat in 5 games, a team that bedeviled them in the conference finals last season. Then the Cavaliers were ousted in 5 games. Then a sweep of the Pacers. Yes, there was a bit of good fortune along the way. Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, and Tyrese Halliburton, among others, missed all or chunks of the playoffs. But such is the case with many champions. You must be both lucky and good to raise the trophy. That shouldn't dilute what the Celtics just did, because again, they ruled the NBA from the start. And the best part? Look, no drama anywhere, said Stevens. It's been a special group. 3. Tatum and Brown for the crown. Jaylen Brown locks up Luka Doncic in Game 5 to seal the Bill Russell Trophy as 2024 NBA Finals MVP. The Celtics clinched the championship Monday in a manner that defined the essence of this team. Lots of Tatum and Brown, who combined for 52 points, 16 rebounds, and 17 assists. They went all tag team, taking turns burying the Mavericks and sealing that team's doom. Tatum broke free from a series-long pair of handcuffs and finally had a fluid night shooting the ball. There was a third-quarter stretch where he went ISO and felt free. Drafted in back-to-back years, Tatum and Brown had to grow together, learn each other's tendencies, and find common ground before they could soar. And even after they became a dangerous tandem, the ultimate reward avoided them. This championship represented a goal that until now proved slippery. Tatum and Brown appeared in 6 conference finals together. This was their second NBA Finals, and finally their first title together. Over the last couple years, we had some tough losses at home in the playoffs, playoffs, Tatum said, so I felt like that was really important to go out there and do everything in my power to make sure we won this game tonight. Brown was the more consistent player, not only in this series, but the Eastern Conference Finals as well. Getting buckets and guarding Luka Doncic requires plenty, and Brown never ran out of fuel on his way to being awarded the Bill Russell Trophy for Finals MVP. I think we learned from all of our mistakes. Brown said, all of our adversity has made us stronger, tougher. All season you could see it. We started from the jump. We made all the sacrifices. We played both ends of the ball at a high level. We didn't skip any steps. And this was the result. 4. A salute to Stevens. The MVP, most valuable president of the finals, was a landslide winner. No questions asked, and all of them answered. Let's just say Red Auerbach is in hoop heaven saluting Brad Stevens with a lit stoogie. That's how meticulous and marvelous Stevens was in building this team around Brown and Tatum. Stevens made moves that brought the goods: shooting, defense, leadership, depth, the whole nine. Stevens is at the top of his profession, quite an ascent from someone who transitioned from coaching. It's a lot easier to build a team if you can start with Tatum and Brown, Stevens said. We're just trying to accentuate their strengths. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis. We're lucky they're here. The chef's kiss was Holiday, acquired last summer. Who knew he'd be the Portland Trail Blazers guard who'd get traded to a contender and win a title? Somewhere in Milwaukee, Damian Lillard ain't laughing. Holiday replaced the defense the Celtics lost when they traded Marcus Smart and brought championship sensibilities from winning a title with the Bucks in 2021. Porzingis was a 20-point scorer who recovered from injuries with 2 big finals games. Derek White hit big shots and Al Horford anchored the front line. Stevens said the championship reflected the team as a whole, not one or two parts. We say all the time, everybody has a role to play and be a superstar in your role, from Jason Tatum or our analytics department, Stevens said. My happiness always comes from the players and the staff and seeing them celebrate. I always like to see them enjoy this. Whether you're a coach, in the equipment department, or a chef, anyone part of the organization. Oh, and a special shout out to former president Danny Ainge for that 2013 trade that keeps on giving, sending the bones of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to Brooklyn for the picks that fetched Tatum and Brown. Celtics president Brad Stevens talks with NBA TV after the Celtics wrapped up the 2024 NBA title. 5. A more mature Mazzulla makes a difference. The only questionable decision made by Stevens was elevating an assistant coach with no NBA head coaching experience. But an explanation: when the Celtics parted ways with Ime Udoka in the fall of 2023, right before camp, most if not all of the unemployed candidates were gone. So Stevens went with his gut and gave the job to Mazzulla, who knew the personnel but dealt with growing pains anyway. Those proved costly in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, where the Celtics lost to the lower-seeded Heat. I feel like it's going to be like that for the rest of my career, as it should be. Mazzulla said of the skepticism, you need expectations. All those things go into making who you are as a person. If someone tells you good job, that's just as dangerous as someone telling you stink. You need both of them in order to get to where you want to get to, and there's no place else I'd rather be. Mazzulla, who turns 36 in 2 weeks, owned up to his rotational and strategy mistakes. He hired Sam Cassell for the bench and pressed all the right buttons, or enough of them anyway. We knew going into last year it was not going to be an easy transition, said Stevens, and we thought he knocked it out of the park, and he was even better this year. He's going to be a great coach for a long time. Handed the keys to a Porsche Turbo, he didn't steer it off a cliff. When Tatum left Monday's game with just over a minute left, he went straight to Mazzulla with a bear hug, the best thank you a coach can ever receive. 6. The championship was never in doubt. The Mavericks won a game, emphatically at that. They had a chance in another, but at no point did the feel of this series favor them. This was Boston's to lose, and the Celtics were too good to allow that to happen. When they needed a basket, they turned to Brown. A defensive stop? Holiday. A big shot? White? Someone to create for others? Tatum refused to be swallowed up by his shooting slump, and other players fell in line. A half-court heave to beat the halftime buzzer? That chore belonged to Peyton Pritchard, who made 2 in the series. All the key moments, plays, rebounds, buckets, and stops trickled, then avalanche for the Celtics. Before long, Game 5 was a wrap. The championship was a snap. Man, I never forget what Danny Ainge told me, said Horford. He said, you can win championships in many places, but there's nothing like winning in Boston. Nothing like winning as a Celtic. And that stuck with me. And the last one, Boston Celtics are going to the next dynasty. The NBA is a league made of runs and dynasties, even if this Boston team is the 6th different champion in the past 6 seasons. But before that, and stretching back through NBA history, are a cluster of teams that won multiple titles. That Boston could join that pattern along with the Golden State Warriors, the Miami Heat, the San Antonio Spurs, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Chicago Bulls, on and on it goes. Seems very, very plausible. Just look at how complete this team already looks to be in the years ahead. Jaylen Brown, newly minted NBA Finals MVP, is under contract for the long term. Jason Tatum almost certainly will be before his player option rolls around in 2 years. Drew Holiday is under contract for the foreseeable future. So is Kristaps Porzingis. The rest of this core is tied down for at least another season, and the ins and outs of the CBA that will limit the Celtics' flexibility, especially once Tatum gets his extension, will also pose challenges to the teams chasing them. But Boston has already shown they've crafted at a championship level. Brown and Tatum work. They now know if they choose what they'll be spending money on and how little they'll need to supplement to keep winning. The fact they play in the Eastern Conference, which appears to be much easier to navigate in the years ahead than the daunting Western Conference, helps too. But maybe the starkest indicator of this team's potential burgeoning dominance is how great they were this year, and how much better they could have been in this finals. There's also the curious case of Joe Mazzulla, whose rapid rise from the back of the bench 2 years ago as an assistant coach to NBA championship head coach as of Monday night may also just be the beginning. Derek White called him a basketball genius last week. So did the Celtics owner during the festivities here after they'd won. They both may be right. The Celtics coach is a unique guy, but there's a manic intensity in how did he do that basketball recall that summons up visions of a young Eric Spoelstra. And at just 35 years old, Mazzulla, also like this Celtics team, maybe just discovering what he can accomplish. Brown is 27, Tatum is 26, Mazzulla is just starting out his head coaching journey. Brad Stevens, who put this group together, looks a lot like the most formidable NBA executive in the game. Boston won with Porzingis, arguably the team's 3rd best player, missing almost the entire playoffs. He played just 3 finals games, never topping 23 minutes played in a single game. And for the Celtics fans who were still partying throughout Beantown long after the game was over, waits this hopeful truth once they wake Tuesday morning, many surely with the hangovers of champions. The fact, as the greats will tell you, that it's the first title that teaches you many of the lessons you need to know in order to win those that follow. The Celtics have now learned that lesson, and the future, like the present, could belong to them. Like and subscribe to see more marvels about NBA.